The biggest trends that I see in video today is that video is now accessible to almost everyone on the internet. And in fact, almost everyone these days is able to make a video. When I speak around the country and around the world and I ask, have you made your own video? In fact, 60% of the audience often raises their hands to say, yes, they've made a video. In education, the changes I see is that originally the idea was if we could just do talking heads videos, that would be enough. But in fact, my own daughter, who's in college, said to me, when I want to learn something, I go to YouTube. So we have everything from just the individual trying to teach the crowd or their tribe to a university trying to understand how, as gatekeepers of knowledge, they can now extend themselves beyond those borders, those geo-based locations, and use video to get the word out about what they're doing. You see many universities like Stanford, Harvard, MIT grappling with this, and one of the words that's come out of this is OER, the Open Education Movement. And we're seeing all kinds of new things that they're trying out, some successful, some not so successful, but what I think is what we realize that is video makes it accessible to people all over the globe, and that we can actually have countries initializing education reform in all parts of the world. I've been using video for about 10 years. I was originally interested in lynda.com because of their books that they were publishing on technology, because they were so good and so directed towards the target audience of a foundational learner in technology. But right after 9/11, I actually had a meeting with Lynda, and we realized that face-to-face communication and traveling to conferences and traveling to workshops was probably a thing of the past. And she initiated and started soon after her video library. As soon as she started doing tutorials online, I started using those tutorials, and what it did for me as a teacher was really free me up. I was no longer having to do these button-pushing, laborious tutorials, but I could have my students watch those tutorials, and I could concentrate on principles, fundamentals, my expertise as a master in my subject matter, which happens to be interaction design, and I could supplement that with different voices in the classroom, almost like having virtual TAs. And what happened, which I wasn't expecting quite, was just like you were delighted in 5th or 6th grade to get that workbook, that geography workbook that you could use for yourself and then go to the more formal lectures that your teacher offered, I realized that my students were delighted that they had access to material 24/7. They could do it in the dorm, they could do it in their bed, they could do it in the library, they could do it at their eating locations, and they could go over and over it again, they could experiment, they could try the adjacent possibilities and wander through the library and start developing their own learning paths and understand how they learn, that there was no shame in watching a video 3 times anonymously. So it changed everything, and I saw them become more empowered, and I saw them want to get motivated and kind of set a path for themselves and put those stepping stones in front of themselves. Well, one of the things I think we're realizing is we learn more about learning through neuroscience and through trying experiments, is that we're learning that actual multimedia is a very great way to engage students. And at the same time, we're learning that students, to be more engaged learners, need to be more self-responsible. So I think what teachers and universities are really grappling with are different ways. We're in what I call the exploratory phase. We're seeing third-party vendors like lynda.com. We're seeing institutions like Sol Khan. We're seeing things like the MOOC, the massively online open courses, really changing the way we think about education. And education is going through a major reform, just like the Gutenberg Press did to publishing. And as we take it out of learning out of the hands of just a few wealthy or a few very prestigious institutions and make it more available and more transparent, we're going to see a lot of experimentation. And what I love about it is that I think the schools finally get that, and they're realizing that a third-party library that's very, very good at what it's doing is no different than buying a collection of the greatest works by Dickens, and that they should be concentrating on the things that they do well. So for instance, at University of Southern California in Los Angeles, they're doing a whole video campaign around what I call their national treasures, their best teachers, their teachers who might be retiring, their teachers who do a fabulous lecture that people who don't even enroll in the class want to attend. And they're capturing that and keeping it as an archive, and that's becoming the intellectual knowledge that we share, and it's available on the internet to people. And it allows a teacher to be good at one thing and share another teacher's best practices so that the students and the teachers can share and learn from each other. So I'm very, very excited about this because it's making it more open, less competitive, and what's rising to the top are the very best of the education experiences.
Everything on the computer with technology changes constantly. And that's why a service like ours is so helpful, because it can keep your skills current as technology changes. We have thousands of videos on hundreds of topics with hundreds of different instructors. And as a member of our service, you can come and learn whatever it is that you want that we have published. We know that people learn differently, and we've broken things into such small-sized bites on purpose so that you can come into the service and just get the one answer you need and get out as quickly as possible. And many of our members use it for that reason alone, and other people love to spend 10 hours teaching themselves something. So what's really nice about it being a library is that it's totally your choice in terms of how much you want to put into it and how much you want to get out of it.